I'm a nerd, you know this.
Amanda Dorenberg has written for Forbes, Wired Magazine, all of them.
I had sold 2 tech companies by the time I had turned 34. Billion with a B. Like, that's a lot of money.
What would you say is the best piece of advice?
Entrepreneurship is not for the weak of heart.
Sponsored by Soho Hotel Toronto, Haute Conversations is hosted by Elizabeth Crisante, CCO and partner at Billboard Canada, Billboard UK, Rolling Stone Quebec, and model at Unique Models.
I want to know every single employee. I want to know what drives them, what motivates them, what scares them.
What will that look like in 5 years with AI surging?
Oh, the buzzword of AI. At the end of the day, it is an algorithm. It has to be taught.
What's some advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur?
That's a question to unpack. Any young entrepreneurs that I mentor or I speak with, I tend to say just
Welcome back, fashion-forward viewers and listeners, to another episode of Haute Conversations. My name is Elizabeth Crisante, and today we have a very special episode and a very special guest. We are going to be joined by my business partner and best friend. I've had the pleasure of working alongside her. We've built companies together. Recently, we just launched Billboard Canada, Billboard UK, and Rolling Stone Quebec. Now, before we dive in, I would like to give a very special thank you to our sponsor, the Soho Hotel, for making this episode possible. I would also love to remind our viewers and listeners to like and subscribe so that we can reach more people like yourselves. Now, I would like to introduce Amanda Dorenberg. She is a tech and marketing executive with so much initiative and such a disruptive spirit. She has written for Forbes. She's written for Wired Magazine, Elle Galore, all of them. Amanda Dorenberg, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sis. So much love. I'm so happy to be here. I get to do this with you. Come on.
It's the best.
This is going to be so fun.
So I know everything about you working alongside you, but why don't you tell everybody about your journey into tech? Because there's a lot there.
That's a question to unpack. So the tech journey began when I was very young. I graduated high school when I was 16 and immediately put myself through college. I was living on my own at the time, as you know, but our listeners don't. And so when I was deciding what to do with my life, I looked at the college pamphlet and saw that computer programming paid the most when you graduated. So that's what I took. So took computer programming and systems analysis from 16 to 18. But I was also a fashion model at the time. So I did get exempt from a great deal of my courses because I was signed to Elite initially and then IMG Worldwide. And so most of my scholastic career was remote, shall we say. I just kind of showed up to write the exams. And that just fueled my desire to understand how technology could influence and impact various different industries, different media outlets. Obviously, coming from fashion and entertainment, I had an inherent passion for that. But the technology, I'm a nerd, you know this.
Yes.
Like, I'm such a nerd. So the tech side of things, I always wanted to try to bring that through. So, I mean, to my core, that's where it started. And the journey sort of exponentially expanded from there. And you can tell me how much deeper you want me to go, but you let me know.
No, I'm so proud of you. You've had such an impressive run so far. You've been a 2-time nominee for Canada's Top 40 Under 40. How did that impact your career or your leadership skills, that recognition?
That was an interesting one. That was unexpected completely, to be honest.
So well deserved, though.
Thank you. I appreciate it. At the time, so I had sold 2 tech companies by the time I had turned 34. And so I had 2 successful exits. One was an advertising technology company, which was acquired by a very large telecommunications company in the Canadian space. And another was still an ad tech application, but in a more traditional industry of the out-of-home space, which is like the offline, the billboards for our listeners, you know, the transit, the murals that you see as you're walking through your cities and your rural communities. So I brought very different applications of technology within those spaces and was fortunate enough to have 2 very successful tech exits by my 34th birthday, which I think probably spawned the nominations of the top 40 under 40. From a leadership perspective, I don't think that nomination specifically drove my approach to leadership. So my approach to leadership is it's a human approach. It's a one-to-one.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know who I'm working with. I want to know every single employee. I want to know what drives them, what motivates them, what scares them. And those are like my three biggest questions. The reason I want to know what scares them is because I want to understand where we can help inspire them and help them grow. Mm-hmm. And so as a leader, and you as well as a leader, I know you and I have these conversations all the time in our businesses. We strive for humility. And at the end of the day, I just want to be surrounded with good people who share our passion.
Absolutely. I think we've done a good job of that.
We've done such a good job.
Now, this is a question that the answer I'm constantly working on every day, and I know you are too. We have so many different companies on the go and so much that is being asked of us. What would you say is the best piece of advice in terms of balancing all of the different deliverables and responsibilities with so much on the go?
That's a very good question. And I think every person is different. Every individual is different. So what works for me may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me or may not work for other people. So for me, I'm an early riser. I am awake anywhere between 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. I get up, I have some me time with my dogs on the terrace. It's typically dark at that time of day. So, I have a moment with the universe in silence, and I'm able to ground myself, be able to catch up on things that unfortunately, the day-to-day when the 9 to 5 starts, you can't always do. So for me, it's just a natural thing. I'm very much into routine. So my day-to-day routine is almost identical every day. Even with respect to times of which that I walk my dogs and times that I need like a moment to chill.
So I was going to ask you, and I think it leads into that answer, like how do you stay grounded? What would be your key piece of advice to stay grounded amongst so many diverse verticals that you're speaking on and initiatives that you're working on?
Again, this is a very personal question. Yeah. So what works for me may not work for others, but what keeps me grounded and humble is, to be honest, my roots. I came from nothing. I built with incredible people. I've been fortunate and blessed enough to be business partners with you and more. And for me, it's surrounding myself with people who will call you out on your
Yeah. honest
people.
Yeah.
You have to have those sounding boards. And I keep a very small circle. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't go out a lot. I'm not like a crazy, despite our businesses are very social. Our businesses, require us to be out and active. But I know where I came from. And at the end of the day, we've built something with incredible people. But, it doesn't define who we are.
No. And I think that if you're so passionate about the work that you are doing, you kind of cut out a lot of other noise. And there's a lot of noise in the entertainment and music industry. A lot of our work does surround the events and, music festivals and music culture. And so it's served, and I know that I'm speaking for you as well, as a form of socializing that, we would do outside of our hard work in front of the computer and meetings. But I'd like to ask, what, in terms of marketing trends in, entertainment, fashion, what are you seeing right now that you're excited about? Growth marketing trends specifically.
If I'm speaking specific to the fashion, entertainment, arts, and cultural side of things, I don't think fandom is ever going to go away. Fandom is a massive, massive trend. The more we can communicate and actually connect and build community with our fans and our audiences, the more the brands and the marketers will inherently receive ROI from whatever the potential investments they are. It's the audience. Mm-hmm. It's the community at the end of the day. So for me, in any of the companies that I had been building or working towards growing, when I look at growth marketing, I'm not focused on the bottom line. And I think this is where marketers actually kind of need, and I know this sounds like the dichotomy of like, okay, but you're a marketer, you need to focus on the bottom line. Yes, of course, everybody knows we need revenue. However, the more you focus on that as your objective, the less that comes. The more you focus on the objective being the true, authentic self and the voice of the brand that you're representing or the brand that you're building, that's when the revenue comes inherently and organically.
I think, yes, and community building
Community.
within the demographic that you're looking to speak to.
It's huge.
Engagement in as much as possible and
But it has to
speaking
be
in their
authentic.
voice.
Exactly. It has to be authentic. And especially today, you know, there's a great deal of statistics out there that the Gen Zs, I think, have $390 billion of disposable income. Like, billion with a B. Like, that's a lot of money. They're going to be the next wave of, and they're not going to be, they are currently. So how do you speak to that audience when inherently actually statistics say that they don't trust digital media? They actually don't trust social media ads. They don't trust various different components. So as a marketer, you have to be very strategic. So when it comes to growth marketing, your audience and the demographic that you're trying to cater to and the varying demographics that you're trying to cater to, your message has to be very different to each of those audiences. And from a tech perspective, there's incredible opportunities from an algorithmic perspective that you can cater your messaging to each of those demographics in a respective way where they get the boomers and the millennials and the Gen X's and the Gen Z's get a completely different message, but it might all be on the same platform. It could be all on, one of the OTT streaming platforms. It could be on social. It could be on whatever. But you have to do your research. And from a growth marketing perspective, I think going back to one of the original questions, the tech side of it is really important. You really need to understand how to cater to each of these audiences, how to work with the platforms specifically, because each platform is also very different in how audiences need to be spoken to and the content that needs to be delivered. Like they're just completely different.
So Amanda, we were discussing growth marketing and its efficacy now, but what will that look like in 5 years with AI surging?
Oh, the buzzword of AI. It's like the buzzword from 2017, 18, when I was in my blockchain days. Mind you, I still work in blockchain as well. What I say when anyone asks me the question about AI specifically is there's a lot of controversy surrounding whether artificial intelligence will replace human power. And I don't believe that that is the case. I think it's about efficacy and streamlining processes to make things far more easier. However, there will still need to be human power, behind it and training it and teaching AI. At the end of the day, it is an algorithm. It's a robot, if we want to call it that. It's an algorithmic robot. It has to be taught. Who teaches the robot? It's a human behind a keyboard. So I think from a growth marketing perspective, specifically, as we talk about the media, the arts, the cultural entertainment industry relative to the use and leverage of AI, I think there's incredible opportunity from, particularly in our business, for example, in the music industry. We could leverage artificial intelligence to assist in ticketing. We could leverage AI to assist with tour management and some of the tedious things that, a lot of people put a great deal of effort behind. However, it could make their lives so much easier if they had, a platform that potentially could alleviate some of the stress and some of the tedious sort of mundane things that go on. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of what happens on tour management or whatnot. That's not what we're here to talk about. But there's a lot of applications relative to arts, culture, entertainment, and particularly in the music industry.
So to shift gears a little bit, you and I are both entrepreneurs. You've written for entrepreneur.com. What's some advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur?
Any young entrepreneurs that I mentor or I speak with, I tend to say just be true to yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to bank on yourself. You have to bet on yourself. If you're not investing in yourself and in your own passion and your own dreams, like whether that be, consistently being curious, learning, educating yourself about what your passions are, follow the passion. And once again, this goes back to the marketing application on the B2B side of things, where I said, don't chase the dollars, chase the audience and be authentic. In this particular scenario, I would say, don't chase the dollars, chase your passion.
Yes.
Because when you chase your passion, that's a tongue twister, okay? When you chase your passion, inherently the dollars will come. And I think a lot of young entrepreneurs see entrepreneurship as like this really cool, sexy industry. It's like, oh, I get to build my own company. I get to do this. I get to do that. I get to be my own boss. But they also don't understand the struggles that come with that.
No.
There's a lot of sleepless nights,
Yes.
and there's a lot of, you have to be incredibly strong-willed, because there's a lot of times where you and I talk about this regularly. You know, we'll have calls at midnight, 2, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa, you know, like, what's going on? Like, you have to surround yourself with really solid people who are going to uplift you, because entrepreneurship is not for the weak or faint of heart.
No, it is certainly not.
It's not.
I mean, if you're going into a company that's already established and you've got the corporate sort of lifestyle, it's all well and good, but you lose a lot of your own
Personal self.
right and freedom to build and create and take your own sort of hunches or initiatives, or even, you know, as you say, passions. But one of the most important things that I've noticed, that you have to be okay with failure and with hiccups.
Yes.
Like, you have to have this resiliency that's like bar none. Like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something new.
something
Let's,
else.
yeah. We both know.
You know, you know this because, you know, you're my bestie and my sister. So like, we talk about this all the time, but I do podcasts and I do interviews and I speak and whatnot. We both do. We're always on stages often together, which I love. But when I'm doing keynotes or podcasts and I get, you know, asked certain questions, a lot of people just focus on the success, but I've had a lot of failure in my life, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm okay talking about that as well. And I think it's important to talk about that. It's important to make mistakes in career. It's important to make mistakes in life. Otherwise, we don't grow and we don't learn.
The biggest learning lessons have come from our alleged failures, but
Yes.
I wouldn't even deem it to be failure.
That's very true. I
Now,
like
we always like to end the episode with a really fun question. And there's one that I wanted to ask you. If you could switch lives with any fashion or tech icon, who would it be and why?
that is a great question. You didn't give me a heads up on this. You're catching me off
I had to
guard
hit you on
this.
the spot. I want it
You
to
had
be
to.
true, real.
I think, can I answer two? Like both?
You can do whatever
So
you like.
fashion icon, I would say
If it's Kate Moss,
it's not, but I draw Kate Moss.
Yeah.
There's Kate Moss photos in my
she's
place.
also an artist on
artist.
top of everything else that she does. And I've seen her sketches and
It's
all her
not Kate
portraits,
Moss.
and Kate Moss is often sketched.
Kate Moss is often sketched. Chrissy Turlington.
Oh, what a good one.
Yes. So that's my fashion. I was like, I can see her face. I just can't remember her name. And then tech-wise, Steve Jobs, like bar none.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Bar none.
Yeah.
Like,
But why? You got to give me why.
okay, Christy, because she's iconic, graceful, classy, and she had such a beautiful career inspiring young women. And then Steve, to be honest, I get a lot of my routine from inspiration of how he lived his life. He wore the exact same black t-shirts. He had like 10 of them. You know me, I have like
Minimalism.
It's such minimalism.
Yeah.
I have like 15 of the same shirts, of the same clothing. And I'm very minimalistic when it comes to how I live my personal life. And I think that when you're a little more minimalistic in your personal life, in your professional life, you actually like draw and pour out
Right.
that passion and that creativity a little more.
Right.
So those would be my two and my
Very
reasons.
good. Very
Totally
good
different.
answers.
Totally different.
Amanda, as always, I love talking to you, and it's been
love
such a
you.
pleasure to have you here today. I would really like to thank all of our viewers. Please remember to like and subscribe so we can reach more amazing people that are fashion interested like yourselves. I'd also like to thank the Soho Hotel, our sponsor, and stay tuned for more Haute Conversations, everyone. Thank you for joining.